In the basic level that we talk about politics in this country, what happened in the last 4 years is that we learned that there's a difference between the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's what we learned about how the Republicans took power despite having really unpopular policies and demonstrating inability to govern. And it was because we figured out that the conservatives took over the Republican Party and used it as an engine for conservative aims.
Absolutely.
And it was an effective electoral strategy for them, too. Now, the question is whether or not, and Laura Flanders would say there actually absolutely is, and I love Laura Flanders, but I'm not as convinced. Is there a left that separates itself enough from the Democratic Party that we can see the Democratic Party as the engine through which we're going to pursue progressive aims, and we will help the party electorally in the process, but that's not the goal. That'll be a side effect.
Well, you take your lesson from the crab on the beach, right? You crawl into the best shell. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care if the left took over the Republican Party. Remember, the Republican Party was started in opposition to slavery. It was a really good idea. And the Democratic Party used to be the bad guys. Robert M. La Follette and the Wisconsin Progressives were Republicans. The radicals of this state were Republicans. I think that ought to be our general attitude. That, where the action is, we go and make it happen. I think the Democratic Party is an easier shell to crawl into right now. But the fact of the matter is, aside from some of his kooky domestic policy issues, I kind of like listening to Ron Paul.
Yeah.
I don't mind Ron Paul. And I don't mind Dennis Kucinich. And I don't mind. Very good. In fact, I have the cover story in the Progressive magazine, headquartered here in Madison, Wisconsin, this month, on arguing the case for what a Kucinich candidacy can and should be, and saying that I wouldn't mind at all having Dennis Kucinich as president of the United States, but the most important thing for me is that Dennis Kucinich articulate, as he does so well, that anti-war stance, that pro-fair trade stance, that economic and social justice stance, and run all the way through the primaries. Don't stop, and go straight to the convention. The biggest mistake Dennis Kucinich made in 2004 was that when he got to the convention, he backed off and said, oh no, I don't need to be nominated, I don't need to see this thing through. Dennis Kucinich would have done John Kerry a favor if he had fought it to the end and made all the noise he could, because John Kerry had a lame, boring convention and went and ran a lame, boring campaign. You need to have to fight for the nomination with your left to become what you ought to be.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the thing that we're kind of waking up to now. And I feel like whenever I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to members of Congress who I respect, I personally hear them getting this even before they have started behaving this way, which is that they're starting to realize that the whole electability competitive thing actually hinges on doing the right thing, and that the best electability hopes for the Democratic Party are for them to get way lefter than they are right now, and way more aggressive than they are right now, and way more confrontational to the Republicans and to Bush than they are right now. That is not about, do the noble thing that you'll die on your sword to be ideologically pure. That's the win the election thing because people believe in you.